Got a random message from Dean Wilson, deadmau5's manager, saying, look, Kaskade and deadmau5 are doing Kx5. They want to try and work Escape. And by this time, like, I was tapped out. I'm like, this song's not coming out as a Will Clarke record.
Right.
If you're not willing to do it, then you're not going to be successful. If you're doing this thing to become a DJ and to become successful in the music industry, and like, you want to be touring, you want people to play in your records, you want people to listen to your records, you want people to buy tickets to your shows, like, you have to market it. Right. It's like this pair of sunglasses. If I didn't see the ad on Instagram or see this person wearing it, I wouldn't have ever bought them.
Is that why you jumped into it? Because you felt that there was a hole and you wanted to like what got you into it? What made you say, I want to spend hours doing this?
I don't know. I'm regretting it now. It was a mix of things. I used to have a radio show years ago, and we did an interview section in it, and I loved the interview section, but I didn't like doing the radio show. So in 2019, we stopped the radio show, and I was like, I really want to do a podcast because I'm like a big consumer of podcasts.
Right.
And we just didn't have time. I didn't make time for it. And we then, obviously, COVID happened, and I was like, well, now's the perfect time to start.
I got time now.
And we did it. We've built it really well. Like, I've got a great team behind it as well, that, like, we book in specific podcast recording days, I'm like recorded out till September now.
Right.
And then my edit, like, I've gone through editors, but I used to do all the editing. That took up too much time.
Right.
Now we're doing everything in person. It's like there's like 3 cameras. Right. So it's like I've got an editing team now. The booking team that helps book it, like all my team around it has made it really efficient.
Nice.
There's still things that I want to change and grow, but
it's never perfect.
No, it's not even the perfection of it. It's just like the streamline of it. It would be great to like have somebody with me to like film it and record it, because it's just me. I just rock up in a hotel room and put cameras up and hope that like something doesn't go wrong, which it does quite often, as I'm sure you guys are aware. But it's great. I think it's been really nice to see the impact of it in the industry as well.
Yes.
And from like when Ryan and I first started doing it to like now, where people come and ask to come on.
Yes. Isn't that the best feeling?
Yeah.
You're begging at first.
Oh, dude. literally clutching at straws. We're like, who can we call this week to get on?
Right. Well, let's talk about music right now. Yes. I mean, your last few singles, like in the last like 8 months, 10 months, I mean, What on Black Book, Call My Name on A-Trak and Friends, Stay Hot on your label, All We Have Is Now, Put You Under with Fast Eddie, your latest single, In and Out with Bakavi and Josefina Aman. I mean, it sounds like you're having fun in the studio right now. Like when I hear all the singles you send me, I'm like, damn, this is like, you're having fun.
Yeah.
What has changed in like, not saying that 2 years ago you weren't having fun, but there's a different energy right now.
I wrote an album, and back when I did the album, it was very specific of like what I wanted to do then. I wanted to write an album that wasn't made for the club. I was bored of writing club records. I'd done 15 years of writing club records, and I wanted to write songs, and I wanted to write an album that can stand wherever we listen to it forever. And it's a standalone album. And we did that with a record label, and it was an amazing experience, but it completely changed like at my whole career. We did a live show with it. Like I stopped DJing realistically for like a period of time. And then after that process, obviously when you do big projects like that, you sign your life away for a bit of time. And luckily it wasn't that long. It was only 18 months realistically that I was in the deal. And I kind of got out of the deal and was like, I need to go back to writing club records. I missed writing club records.
You needed the break.
Yeah, it was really important. And also like the process of writing the songs was amazing. I said to Ryan and I sat down, I think it was 2021, and I was like, let's give myself a year to write the album. So 21 to 22. We didn't have a label. We were either going to put it out on my label or sign it. Right. But I wrote the album before we signed it. So we could then go shop it around and see if anyone's interested. And luckily Armada picked it up. But then it's just the whole, realistically, you're working like 3 or 4 or 5 singles for a long time. Right. Rather than just like chucking, like how we know of club records, just chuck it out and chuck it out. And coming out of that, I was like, last year I put out 2 records. We did a remix album, but I don't class that as putting out records. It's
you putting out your
me
art.
Personally. It was like 2 records, and I write too much music to only put out 2 records a year. Right. So this year, coming into this year, I had a boat ton of records, and we were like, okay, let's do one every 6 weeks, and now it's probably turning into like every month, right? And then also every week I'm giving away edits, and we're even talking about putting another release in between there as like SoundCloud only or something like that. So like I'm like full blown just chucking records out.
I mean, what I love about your production is I think sonically you always are doing something different than everybody else. Like I almost feel like you sit there and go, I'm not gonna do that, even though I know if I do that it will be big. I'm gonna do this.
It's a blessing and a curse. Right, it does. Like Ryan and I talk about this on a regular basis. It's like I'm fortunate that I sit in certain lines in the industry, but also unfortunate that I don't fit on most lineups. Right. In a sense of like what people think musically I put out and how I can DJ. So it's like I'm not part of any crew. But I'm part of lots of crews. Right. And I have my own label, but also signed to other people's label. It is a great thing when you have big records. Really great thing. Right. Like when we started All We Have Is Now, I had some of my biggest records. Right. Sadly, it was COVID. But coming out of COVID, it was great. Like everyone knew these big records. I was doing big remixes. It was a great time. And then when you don't have big records for a while, it feels very isolating. Right. And you're very much on your own.
But when you had those big records, you weren't trying to make big records, I don't think. No. I think they just became big records.
Yeah, Hallelujah. Yeah. Well, You Take Me Higher, which was the first release. Right. That I don't know why that did what it did. Right. Like Fish picked it up and played it every set, and like a few other people, and it was just like a perfect storm. Right. Like you can't, or maybe you can nowadays, but back then you couldn't engineer a big record. And then we had Hallelujah, which wasn't supposed to be a release. I did that in 2019 or the end of 2018. It wasn't supposed to ever come out, and then we luckily got it out. And I guess now for me it's just I love writing club records. I always have, and now after taking the break, I'm back and it feels good.
But even when you're writing your club records, I still feel like you're like slightly left of center.
100%.
Yeah.
I don't mean to do that though. Like I generally just don't mean to do that.
I think you do.
I guess it's just like what I like.
Right.
Like the influences that I'm pulling from is probably not the influences of what most people are pulling from in the day and age of now, right?
Who are you pulling from? What are some of your influences? Are you listening to older stuff for influences, or is it?
I'm just not listening to electronic music. So it's like, and if I am, it's like I'm listening to old. Like I'm going back to when I was in Ibiza and a resident there and pulling old records from there. I try not to listen to electronic music. If I'm listening to music, it will be I'll listen to like some funk and soul, or I'll be listening to some Motown or country, or
Right.
Just like nothing to do with electronic music, which I think I don't really know what's going on in the scene.
Right.
Because I don't follow it.
Right.
Which again is a blessing and a curse.
Right.
So who knows?
Now, you're also the only artist that I know of, and I may have this wrong, but like you're doing content like on farms and stuff. Like I'm just like, hey, this guy, like he's dressed like a raver on a farm, or it's in this amazing visual of a mountain. Is that where you're living these days?
I've always lived there.
Oh, okay.
I grew up there.
Where is that at?
It's the closest city is Bristol.
Got it.
So have you ever heard of cheddar cheese? As in like the cheese cheddar? Like
Yeah.
So I live in a place called Cheddar, which is where cheddar cheese is originally from.
Wow.
Yeah.
And how many people are in that city? It's small.
It's not even a city. So like actually Cheddar is like probably 10,000 people. Where I actually live, which is outside of Cheddar, is maybe 65 people.
So you're not even in Cheddar.
No. Yeah. It's
wow.
It's kind of weird because it's like the polar opposites of my life is like we're playing sound tonight.
Right.
You play massive festivals all over America, and then you go back to the town, or it's called a hamlet because there's not even a shop there. Like, you don't get hamlets in America. But it's like you go back there, I go for my morning walk and I see everybody that I know. It's amazing. It is like
great.
It is amazing.
Did you move back there during COVID or after COVID?
I've always been there. I've just been 50-50 in America. So I obviously lived in Detroit for a long time.
Right, but you've always had this other place.
Yeah.
Ah, that's crazy.
Yeah,
so
my
that's
parents are there. I literally live next door to my parents.
So that explains the content in. Because I'm like, is this guy driving to a farm doing like, hey, can we rent your farm for a second? Like, I'm trying to understand it. But that is, so how has that affected you production-wise because you're in a different environment? Or do you still need to go to Bristol, London, do some sessions there?
I go to London a lot to do sessions, but I write in London, but I don't finish in London, if that makes sense. So I'll do sessions with top liners.
Right.
Most of them won't travel. It's like 3.5 hours away from London. Right. I can't expect people to come down to the middle of nowhere to write, although I do have them, but so I go to London quite a lot, do a bunch of top lines, write a load of stuff with people, and then go back to my studio and finish. But it's weird because the whole influence of like, I don't really get influenced by places. I think when I moved to Detroit, there was a slight change of like sonic.
Right.
Like I think that's when more like the techno moved in, right?
Right.
But it's very dark and depressing in that city. It's like, and my studio had no windows. Like it's a cool city, but it's very different, if that makes sense, to what I was used to. So yeah, it probably changed my sound a bit. But yeah, being back home, I've literally only ever written for long periods of time there. I don't know anything different. So I don't know if I take influence from, like if I come to LA or if I go to New York, I don't really get influenced by the cities.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
But how long so you have to drive 3.5 hours just to get to the airport?
Yeah. There is an airport in Bristol, which is really close to me.
Right.
But it only does like Europe trips.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah.
So then do you drive to,
London, yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. It is annoying, especially now because I don't have a place in America.
Right.
So tomorrow I go back home. Well, I actually go back home and fly to Ibiza.
Right.
Then go back home and then come back out here for 2 nights and then go back. It's like the travel's a bit mental right now.
Right.
But
the serenity that you have.
Well, I could just be doing way worse things.
Right.
I'm pretty lucky with what I do.
Right.
And I don't mind the travel. I don't drink. I look after myself as much as I possibly can. These are probably the worst things I do.
Right.
So the travel doesn't affect me that much. What it does, it takes a lot of your time away.
Yes.
So it's like when I was living in the States, I'd be back in Detroit by Sunday afternoon. So I'd have like Sunday evening to like chill, catch up with friends, and then Monday get back onto work. Now I'm sometimes not getting back till Tuesday because of travel.
Right.
And then you're back on the road, catch up. But
there's, at the same time, it's not like you're going to the movies in your city or anything.
No.
Yeah. So it kind of balances out. Are you one, since you're so much travel time, are you producing on the road?
No. I finish things. I finish things on the road in the sense of like, if there's an edit I want to do, I'll work on that. Or if there's like something that just needs a bit of tweaking.
Right.
I've never been good at working on the road, but I'm pretty efficient in the studio.
You're pretty efficient of like, I'm going to start at 9 or put in the hours in.
Yeah. And I can like knock out if I'm on a roll, I can knock out quite a lot.
Right. And you don't have a lot of distractions, I would think, out there.
You'd say that.
Right.
But when your family are literally next door, it's like I had way less distractions when I was living in Detroit because it was just me.
Right.
And way less to worry about.
Right.
In like a selfish manner. But again, I wouldn't change it for the world.
Right. Of course.
Yeah.
Now, on your podcast, you've talked a lot about, the importance or non-importance of social media. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's an ongoing discussion, right, in our career. And some people say it's 50-50 with the music. Some people even say it's higher. I think like you're an artist that definitely puts the music before social media.
Yeah.
Right? But new artists coming out today, what would your advice be to them for social media? Like, where's the balance for new artists, do you think, should be?
It's really interesting because I think if you look at how it used to be, right, that we used to rely on record labels to promote our music, right? And that was literally like sending, like a promo tool, right? Like people would just send records out to DJs and if they like it, they'd play it. There wasn't any self-marketing to a certain extent. It was always like everybody else around you did it. But now that's gone. Right. So I don't actually love the discussion of social media. It's just a thing you have to do. Right. And it's
part of the job.
If you're not willing to do it, then you're not going to be successful unless there's, obviously we all know there's like a handful of people that don't do it that are insanely successful, right? But they're the anomalies and 99% of us have to do it. My question is, if you're doing this thing to become a DJ and to become successful in the music industry, and success, that's not necessarily finances, that's just like being successful in the industry. Right. Like you want to be touring, you want people to play in your records, you want people to listen to your records, you want people to buy tickets to your shows. Like you have to market it. Right. It's like this pair of sunglasses. If I didn't see the ad on Instagram or see this person wearing it, I wouldn't have ever bought them. Right. It's exactly the same. So it's like, I don't think there's even a discussion about doing it if you don't do it. 100%. Like, just you're screwed.
I guess my question is it more important than the music?
That just depends what type of artist you are.
Right.
If marketing is more important than the music, then I don't think you're trying to have an artist career. I don't think you're trying to have an artist and a career doesn't go hand in hand. Right.
You're trying to be more of an entertainer.
Yeah. And it's totally fine.
Right.
There's no right or wrong.
Right.
Right. But also there's artists that have got very big recently that they're very good at social media. Mm-hmm. Their music's pretty bang average.
Right.
But because they're great at marketing, it's working for them. Like, and you can't knock them for that. They're better. They're doing way better than me.
Right.
In that sense. But would I want to put those records out? No. Would I rather be less successful financially and career wise than them and have my name by those records? 100%.
Right.
That's just the difference. But also, like, tomorrow, the amazing thing with social media, it's not happening as much now, but tomorrow I could post a video and I could be this big.
Right.
Purely on one video.
Right.
So it's like, you got to be in it to win it. It's like the lottery. We're all gambling out here.
Same thing. I think the same thing when we're putting out records on vinyl back in the day, or same thing. You could put out that one record.
Yep.
It can change things for you.
Like,
and you never know.
Yeah. Like, and also it takes so many time. Like, this sounds cheesy, but I literally just put a post out that it's like, it takes so many times to fall in love with the record. Right? Like, I've been using this example. Like, you hear the new Calvin Harris record, right?
Right.
You hear it the first time, you're like, yeah, it's another Calvin record, sweet. Hear it second time, you're like, okay, yeah, I get it. Third time, banger. Fourth time, yeah, that's a hit. Fifth time, it's in our brains, we know it, right? But if you're only talking about your record once, and no one else is talking about it,
right,
then no one's going to fall in love with it. So you have to talk about it.
What's your magic number? 8?
As much as you possibly can. That is the fact. Like, and
as much as you don't get annoyed seeing yourself on your own.
Yeah, but yeah. I think it's like the way it works. We can't. Our egos can't be so big that if you have 100,000 followers, 100,000 people are going to see every post. We know that's not the fact.
Right.
Like, literally 100 people will see that post, or 1,000 people will see that post. Like, and you need to get to 100,000 people. Like, streams mean bugger all nowadays. Like, we all know that. So it's like, how are you going to reach that many people? You have to talk about it.
Right.
It's like, just how it is.
It's part of the job. Some people don't like it. And I'll equate it to... it's a mental toughness. As much as you say social media, it is a mental toughness of doing it, creating it, putting out the content, being excited about it.
It's a full-time job. Yeah,
it's a full-time job.
Yeah.
And the same thing is, if back in the day, if you wanted to DJ, you had to learn turntables. There was no way around it.
And you had to be good.
Right. You had to be good. There was no, like, I hear stories all the time. They said they needed a DJ. I never DJ'd in my life. And I said I would do it.
Yeah.
That didn't happen back. You couldn't do that.
No.
You'd show up with records and it'd be a disaster.
Yeah.
You'd be like, everybody would know your train record. Like, get that person off. But I think the same thing applies with social media, where you have to do that work.
Yeah.
You have to learn that technique.
And it changes so much as well. Like, we've gone through multiple eras of social media. It's changed even in the last year to what you have to do and what channels look like and all of that. But also there's so much information out there to tell you what to do, which is great, right?
Right.
It's just whether or not you're willing to listen to it.
Right. Now, I didn't know that you had worked on Escape by Deadmau5 and Kaskade, and I only knew when I saw your thing with Kaskade, and Kaskade didn't even know.
I didn't know.
Explain to me exactly how that record came about, what exactly you did. How did that happen?
I actually pulled that project up the other day. So 2020 or 2021, I did a session in London with Haler, Camden Cox, and Eddie Jenkins. And this was like a writing camp, a writing session for me. And we wrote Escape. And we were going to put it out on my label.
Right.
And somebody in that writing session didn't want that version to come out on my label. So we did a few more versions. No. And then Deadmau5 originally had it. Like, we kind of got to the point where we're like, well, we're just not going to put it out then. Deadmau5 originally had it. And there's some politics that happened on that from one of the writers and then deadmau5 pulled out of it. And then Chris Lake got hold of it and heard some of the dramas behind what had happened behind that record.
Right.
And was like, I'm not touching this with a barge pole.
Right.
And then eventually it was when, I don't even know when it came out. When did Escape come out? 2023?
I think like 3 years ago.
Yeah. And then we got a random message from Dean Wilson, deadmau5's manager, saying, look, Kaskade and deadmau5 are doing Kx5. They want to try and work Escape. And by this time, like, I was tapped out. I'm like, this song's not coming out as a Will Clarke record.
Right.
And then there were some negotiations that happened that were difficult, but not as difficult.
Right.
Because I think certain people just wanted the record out. And it came out.
Wow.
So.
And it was huge.
I'll send you the original. I'll send it to you.
That's crazy. Did you know when, I want to hear the original, but did you know at the time, like, this is a really big record? Or was it one of those things like you just don't know? You're like, all right, it's another record.
The amazing thing that it was Hayley, a.k.a. Hayla, it was like the first time that people had kind of heard her voice. And Hayla writes unbelievable records for her voice.
Yes.
Like, no one can sing really a Hayla record.
Right.
And it was, I loved the record. I loved the original. And I really like what the boys did.
Right.
Like, they can't really miss both of those together, right? Let's be honest. But yeah, the original, I came out of it and was like, this is big.
Right.
This is a big record. And I immediately sent it to somebody at Universal, Jack. Sent it to Jack, I think of Jack Duckworth. I don't know if was he at Universal then? Yeah. And he was like, mate, this is great. Like, leave it with me. And then nothing happened, of course. And then all of the drama happened with it, and yeah.
But at least it got worked through the drama, and it eventually came out.
I don't think the drama ever got worked through. I think it just, everyone just kind of put their hands up and was like, do we want this record out? Okay, go.
Right.
And to be fair, like, if I put that record out, it would never have been as big as what it is, right? So I'm glad that many people got to hear Hayley. Right. And Hayla's now built a massive career over it. And that's better for me than it is me having that success on that record.
And a lot of people don't know, like, the behind the scenes. Sometimes there's a lot of drama getting a song out, especially when there's a lot of hands involved, where you got to have like 6 people sign off on it, and their publishers sign off on it, and everybody's kind of, and I'm sure bringing in deadmau5 and Kaskade, now you have to now there's more of the pie that has to be split.
Yeah, I think it's just part of what's always been part of the music industry, right? Like, go look at a Beyonce record and you look at the credits and there's like 20 people that's written it. Right. It's like, that's a headache.
That, I guess what I'm saying is, it's not a lot, like, it's happening more in dance music now as dance music is
dance music's so commercial now, right? So it's like, is there really an underground now of like real underground? I'm sure there is, but like, club records are now having multiple writers on. You've got albums that are coming out. Like, there's no way certain artists that are putting albums out as much as they are, there's no way with their tour schedules that they can physically do that themselves. So it's like, it's a business, it's a team. That's all it is in that sense. Right.
And once that song came out and really started hitting, like, you had to be like, man, I'm really, like you just said, I'm glad that it came out later, I should say.
I'm glad it came out for Hayley.
Right.
Yeah, like I'm super glad, and I'm glad what it did for the Kx5 guys.
Right.
Like I love it. Like
Right.
we were asked to remix it, I think, for at a period, and we were like, nah, let's just call it quits.
Right.
It's great.
That's awesome.
Like
Well, it worked out. Let's just say
massively.
it worked
Yeah.
out. That's amazing. I want to know, because you're like musically, you pull influences from so many, like not the average stuff that everybody else is listening to. Who's on Will Clarke's dance music Mount Rushmore?
Maceoplex. Faithless.
Ooh.
Chemical Brothers. Massive Attack. Fatboy Slim. But early Fatboy Slim.
Right.
That's it.
Early Fatboy Slim, as in like Mighty Dubcat's Fatboy Slim? Or...
I remixed Mighty Dubcats.
No, you did not.
Yeah, I did.
That's crazy.
A long time ago. A long time ago.
Right.
I still get Songstat notifications that this Mighty Dubcats just gets played in France for some reason all the time on radio. No, like the Praise You album.
Right.
I remember going to Glastonbury Festival with my dad and watching that, and they gave everyone like, can you remember the like 3D glasses that you used to get? So he gave everyone in the crowd like those 3D glasses, but they had like acid faces on. So every time you looked at the light, an acid face would pop up. It's absolutely mental. Yeah, I remember watching that, and that was pretty amazing.
Right.
But my first show I ever went to see was Faithless when I was 11.
That makes sense.
Yeah, my dad took me.
And did they have the hit out yet, or is it before? Yeah.
They had multiple.
Yeah, right.
I think Insomnia came out 95 or 98.
Right.
It was their out respective album which had We Come On, which was like the big thing. But I don't think it really hit America.
That dance was not hitting the radio.
No.
They were a big like underground act here.
Whereas in the UK they were headlining Glastonbury. It's crazy.
Yeah. And I understand Chemical Brothers without a doubt.
They're the best.
Yeah. So what else are you working on right now? What else? I'm sure you got other singles you're dropping.
Yeah.
Your latest single, is sick. The In and Out. Like, how long ago did you write that song?
Like a year and a half.
That's crazy.
Yeah, we've got a lot of music. So what have we got coming out? Obviously the In and Out record. We have a record potentially coming out of Marshall Jefferson, which is pretty interesting. You wouldn't expect it from me. It's like a disco record.
I love it.
But it's one of, I actually wrote it initially in 2021 for the album. Myself, Mitch Jones, and Clem Douglas, we wrote it, and it is one of my favorite records I've ever written. But I've never been able to put it out because it is kind of so not a Will Clarke record as well. So that's potentially coming out. Got a record with Honey Love that's coming out at some point this year. Got a record with DJ Minx coming out. Also working on a record with Oliver Heldens, which we did a record together on his High-Low project. And now we've got an Oliver Heldens work that we're working on at the moment. And there's a record called Synthesizer that Ryan absolutely hated when he first heard it, and I give him crap for it every time. But that I'm probably looking forward to that record the most. And a record called Church of Love as well. We've got so much music.
Right.
I can't wait for it all, and we've just announced a tour, so yeah, it's great. That's
exciting, man. Well, it's awesome having you on our show in the house right here, and your podcast. That's just amazing. I'm watching it almost every week.
Thank you.
And thanks for coming by, man.
Thanks for having me, man. Really appreciate it.
Powertools.